Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to HealMyTajweed, helping you read. So inshallah today we're going to start with a series parallel to the Your Tajweed Made Easy, and we're going to be focusing on the Qaidah. Today we're using Ahsan al-Qawa'id, but you could use any Qaidah that you wish. All Qaidas are the same, and the script will be different. This is the Indo-Pak version, and you can use a Madina Mus'haf version, Uthmani, doesn't matter, okay? Now, I want to talk to you about a few problems with teaching Qaidah from the parents and from the teachers before we blame the students. And this is my experience, what I've experienced, okay? And since you guys are going to be hopefully teaching someone, inshallah, avoid these mistakes. So the first mistake which comes from parents is this incessant need or thought or belief somehow that you have to finish the Qaidah and the Quran like a race. There's a competition with Allah knows best who. When is my son, my daughter going to finish? You barely started and you want to know when you're going to finish. I'm going to remind you of something, and this is not me giving a tafsir of that, yeah? This is me giving an open thought, right? If Allah had willed so, could He have revealed the Quran in a few seconds or a few minutes or a few days? Your brothers know very well. How long did the Quran take to reveal? 22, 23 years, subhanAllah. And there's a hikmah behind this which scholars are much more qualified than myself to explain. But I use this as an example I used to tell parents usually. And you know very well with us, especially Asians, I don't know if it's the same for everywhere in the Muslim world, we want our kids to finish that Qaidah and the Quran within a couple of years, correct or no? More or less, and we kind of worried. Funny story, one parent recently asked me, when is their child going to start Baqarah? And I go, inshallah, if they're fluent from the back, I will take them. But they were saying, their relatives were asking, and just fair enough, everyone's finished Quran. But alhamdulillah, the parent told the people, but my son is reading with Tajweed. And I find this funny because that implies the other people are not reading with Tajweed, which is probably true. And it's a really bad thing. Now, so the first mistake comes from parents, and they put pressure on the teacher and on the child to finish the Qaidah and the Quran. Do you agree with me? Yeah. Good, that's number one. Second problem, the teacher. In my experience, I've seen it. The teacher does not make sure that the student knows how to read the letters by looking. And I'll give you an example. I call this the parrot student, okay? So I'm a teacher and you're a student. I go to, okay, go on. Alif, go on. Alif, ba, ta, tha, ja, or jim. Yeah, again, alif, ba, ta, tha, jim. Good, repeat it. Alif, ba, ta, tha, jim. MashaAllah, good. Now I'm the teacher and I think you know it, so I go next. Okay, ha, kha, dal, dal, ra. Go on. Ha, kha, dal, dal, ra. Okay, there's a bit of mistakes, but the point is I've moved on. Now this is a huge mistake, especially for kids who's never ever done Qaidah before, never learned Arabic, or even an adult. What they've essentially done, they've not looked at the letters, right? They've only heard a sound and they're repeating. And I'll give you an example. Can you say for me, kun sifat choy? Say kun sifat choy. Kun sifat choy. Good. That's Chinese. I hope I'm not insulting Chinese. It means like Happy New Year or something like that. Yeah. Now, if I showed you this Chinese, would you be able to read that? If I showed you, no. But what was the sound? Kun sifat choy. Kun sifat choy. Essentially, what many teachers do, they are not teaching the child how to read by looking. They're teaching sound. And the child is memorizing sound. Now, in and of itself, it's not a problem if you're learning the Tajweed with sound. But the problem is most madrassas, most teachers, they're not teaching that way, and most parents are not wanting their son to learn that way. This is reserved for some special people who only need to learn by listening, correct? It is possible. So what I've seen happen, subhanAllah, I have literally seen students, they will do this, alif, ba, ta, tha, jim, yeah, and then they've learned it. Now we come to page 3 and the alphabet is in different order, and they go to me, alif, ba, ta, tha, jim, wallah al-azim, and they don't even know they're making mistake. This is what happens. Yeah, it's called parroting. Now I'll give you the tips what you need to do, especially if you're going to teach a child for the first time. Very important. Number one, if you can see on top, there is the English transliteration. Yes? Yeah. Many starting students, 5, 6, 7-year-old, they will not look at the Arabic. They will put their finger on the Arabic and they will read the English transliteration. They will say alif, ba, ta. They're completely covering the letter in Arabic and looking at the English. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Which is not a problem to start with. But what you need to do is make sure when they go to the next page, you ask them to read. Now they're completely lost. Guess why? They can't recognize the letters because they're looking for the English. That's the first mistake. So what you need to do, whenever you teach them, it's fine to look at the transliteration, but ask them to put their finger below the Arabic letter. They need to look at the Arabic letter and they need to look at the transliteration. Are you with me? Eventually what you do, you tell them, okay, I don't want you to look at the English anymore. Just look at the Arabic on this first page. This is very important, very critical. Clear? That's number one. Number two, now I've gone through this with alif, ba, ta, tha, jim. Okay? You've repeated back to me. Go on.
Alif, ba, ta, tha, jim.
Okay. Now, if I know you know it, in this order, do we go to the second line? No. Big mistake. Because here's what you should not do. They've learned an order of sounds. Now what you need to do is two more things. You need to reverse this order. Go jim, tha, ta, ba, alif. You must check the reverse order, right? After you've checked the reverse order, there's the third and final thing you need to do. What is it?
Mix it.
Yeah, you mix it. I call it spot test. You go in any order. Because again, I've seen students do this. They start from here, they go alif, ba, ta, tha, jim. This is completely wrong, okay? You sound surprised. It's not. I've seen this. And it's a big mistake. Teachers, if you're teaching like this, you need to stop, please. You need to make sure the child recognizes the letter with their eyes and point to it. You've got to do forwards, backwards, and spot tests, okay? Clear? Alhamdulillah. Now, for a new child that just started, before you move to the next line, got to make sure obviously they know the forwards, backwards, and spot tests. Okay. Now you're doing the second line. You have to repeat the same pattern of the second line. That makes sense. And when they've done the second line, forwards, backwards, and spot tests, what do?
First two lines.
First two lines, perfect. Again, first two lines are the same pattern. Forwards, backwards, and spot tests. And that's what you're supposed to do when you teach a child. Okay, for the first time. Or an adult who's never done Arabic. But I'm hoping adults won't be as parroting as children, but children do. And this is literally what you do with the whole of the Qaidah, especially for first timers. And I have a policy, if the child makes one mistake on one line, major mistake usually, they do not move to the second line. And believe me, I will tell you, children in many madrasas, they will go here. Teachers are just passing them for whether it's because of pressure from parents or teachers have pressure themselves or teachers can't be bothered. They're assuming children know. They're on lesson, for example, 22. You get them to check lesson 4 and they can't read it. So that's the next tip I'm going to give you. After I pass a child on first lesson, let's say we're doing lesson 1, right? Before I move them to lesson 2, you do a spot test of lesson 1. Then you move to lesson 2. When you've done lesson 2, don't move to lesson 3. Guess what you need to do?
1, 2, 3.
Spot test of lesson 1 and 2. You need to check them constantly throughout their progress. It's very important. Don't skip on that step. People skip on that step because they're in a hurry to complete Qaidah. And one of the biggest mistakes you can make is to finish that Qaidah within a couple of months just to be able to move to Quran. Because if you teach a child correctly from the Qaidah, and I mean correctly, in theory, you can go to Quran, you can open any page, they will be able to read with minimal input. But you'll find what happens, many children who finish Qaidah, you give them the Quran, what do they say? Oh, I've never done this. Yeah? They don't know how to read because they can't. Now, a second thing I actually do is I've mentioned this before, I get a different type of script. This is the Medina Mus'haf script. It's the Uthmani script. It's a different one. The reason is because I've explained in my previous video. Go and watch it. I want my students to be able to read from 2 kinds of script, at least 2. More is even better. So good teachers will spend a long time on Qaidah, maybe even longer than they would on Juz Amma. But parents will pressure teachers, and teachers sometimes are under pressure and just want to finish it. I hold students back on Qaidah, and I usually tell students that if you want to go to Quran, go somewhere else, because I want to make sure you know every letter. And even when we're teaching this Qaidah, we teach with quite a few Tajweed rules, makhraj, sifa, Tajweed rules. The students know if they don't do qalqala, I say you didn't do qalqala, they correct it. I go, you forgot ikhfa. From here, we get them used to it, okay? And that's how you should train it. So this is kind of a little of a warning. If any one of you want to send your children to study with us, I will go very, very thoroughly with the Qaidah, and it will take time. And if you're in a hurry, do yourself a favor, don't come to us. If you're in a hurry, you go to anyone else if they want to take you in a hurry. We want you to read correctly, not fast. Because there's no point getting someone who's done Qaidah and Quran finish, and then you get them here, or you try to get them tested, they can't pronounce A'udhu Billah, or they can't recite Al-Fatiha, and there's so many mistakes. It's a problem. Please, 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 parents and teachers and madrassas and organizations, this is a crime against the Quran. This is a kalamullah. Can you please stop doing this? And if parents, you're not very sure whether your child is learning correctly, get them checked by someone, someone that you trust. Okay, it's very important. Don't skip on the basics, because it's very disheartening to always take students back. Parents are frustrated, children are frustrated. They don't want to do that. Okay, I hope that's clear. So with you, Naeem, well, you're going to pretend to be Naeem. We're going to go through a similar process, except I'm not going to be pedantic to you and be, condescending. I'm pretty sure you're not going to parrot your way through, but I will spot test you when I think you need to be spot tested. And if I see you're struggling, you're going to stay on that lesson until you perfect it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because once you do this, you will fly through Quran, inshallah. Okay. And by the way, don't hesitate to go back to Qaidah if you have problems with makhraj and sifa, because you need to basically kick this bad habit out of you, and the only way is to keep repeating with a teacher who can take you through it. I've taken a few adults back to Qaidah, and they are grateful for it. This is the right thing to do. For some of you, it might be the right thing to do. So don't hesitate to ever do this, inshallah. Okay, now on the Qaidah, any question on today? Anything I've said that you want to ask question about? No? You're happy with this?
Yeah, I'm
inshallah.
happy with that process and that step, and I'm happy to repeat steps because I know I need it. So
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
And the last advice which I'm always giving, which is why you guys are here, as you're learning a first lesson, and I will make sure that if I pass you on a lesson, inshallah, you will know that lesson. You're not passing with one mistake. It's not going to happen. 0 mistake, you pass. So with my students, it's pass or fail. There is no in between. Okay? Yeah. So you must teach someone straight away. And that's the best advice I can give you. Teach someone as you go along, but make sure you've learned it correctly, and learn with a teacher who's going to make sure you learn it correctly. But teach as you're learning, and it will stick in your head. And I'm sure you guys have started to understand this. Yeah? Alhamdulillah. You got someone to teach?
yeah, I'm not wrong myself.
Perfect. Perfect. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so with that said, inshallah, I look forward to seeing you in this parallel series, which is going to be the Qaidah series. We're going to go through Ahsan al-Qawa'id from lesson 1 to 30. There's 30 lessons. And we're going to continue with our Tajweed Made Easy. These two brothers may join us as well, inshallah. And I will try to teach it in a way which children can also learn. Be some slight differences, but usually everyone could benefit. So if you have any question, let me know, inshallah. And consider leaving me a comment below, asking a question. Also subscribe to the channel to help us. And if you want to donate to the project, there is paypal.me/HealMyTajweed, because we want to take these projects to various masajids across London and across UK, inshallah. And last point, I also have a tech channel. It's nothing to do with Islam, but link below is called HealMyTech. Go and check it out. Give it some love, inshallah. And this was Ash from HealMyTajweed, helping you read. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.